everybody, welcome to the Underground Cagliari walking tour. Now, this is an underground tour in Cagliari in Sardinia, Italy, and as its name suggests, you get to tour the underground. Now, much of the history of Cagliari was in the underground. Now, on this tour, we will see the warrens of caves, crypts, and tunnels. Okay, now we're going to see the Santa Restituta and the Santa Eulalia in the archaeological area of that part. So stay tuned, we're just getting started. Alright, continuing the tour. Now here we are just at the entrance, and as you can see there's candles here and they sort of light up the area for the whole tour. Just look over here, you can see where it is right here, and they have candles going all the way down there. So we're going to talk in a minute. However, here we are in an underground area which was created for the Second World War because the Allies actually bombed the area and Cagliari was a targeted city, so what they needed to do was find a way to protect the people, sort of like the British did with their air raid shelters. So what they did was they used archaeological sites and caves, natural caves, as ways of doing this. So this is what they're using right here. See that back here? There you go. How are we continuing the tour? Now you can see right here, we have, this was limestone here, which was very porous, and they blasted it with dynamite to get this area open. Now you can see a lot of spots on here, some dark spots here, there's a little dark spot right here as well that are just sort of plastered off right here. What happened was back in the day, they had wires going through here to provide electricity for the underground shelter, but when the war ended, they didn't need it anymore, so they removed the wires and just put those little plaster on top. And now if you look over here, to make this more sturdy, they put cement here. See, this is cement up here. You can see that there. Go up there. It's cement right there. And all the way around here. It's all cement. Much harder. Okay. How are we continuing the tour? Now, I should mention that Cagliari was the second most bombed city in Italy after Naples. Now, when people had fled Cagliari during the war, they came back, there was no place to live. A lot of them had to live in here. And I can see what the tunnel's like down there. You can see it's all well lit up here. They had to make sure it was well lit up in the days when they had electricity, not with candles. But let's go in here. Here we had the equivalent of a kitchen. Now come in here and look at this. Now back in those days, here we have the foosball pieces. The little kids used to play foosball. And here are some of the pots right here they had. And then over here we have the beer, the famous beer of the Cagliari area. This one was here for 15 years. Okay. And then if you look over here, more pots. And here was the balls they used for their version of lawn bowling. Okay, and obviously more kitchen utensils there. Talk soon. How are we continuing the tour? Now here we have the area which is sort of like the recycling area. As you know, the Italians love to drink wine, and it's no different from the Sardinians, that part of Italy. So what they did when they lived in this shelter after dinner was they put this little recycling area here, and here's all the wine bottles right here. So this is their version of recycling. Alrighty, here we have the room that was, in a way, the room to take a rest and stretch your legs, because apparently it was very crowded in here, so a lot of people were soldiers, and they would come in here to stretch out and just, you know, chill out if you want to. Now, if you can look right here, there's a hook right here, okay, and there's another one right here. What happened was, after the war and the families came, this was actually the first bedroom, so they would have to put up a little blanket, if you want, here, or a curtain, to keep the area private. How are we continuing the tour? Now here we have the arches. Now these were built for stability. And what happened was a lot of these tunnels were zigzag, so they're very sturdy and were able to withstand the bombs. But this one here was straight, so they had to make it more sturdy, so they built these big arches. You can see these are arches of brick right here. They're very, very, very sturdy. Over here, it's none of that limestone. Okay, so that's what they did to withstand the radiating of the bombs when they hit the ground. However, this is the end of this tunnel. Now here, in the day of the war, this was actually a window. The soldiers needed this window to see if bombs were coming, so that was why it was here, and this was the end of the tunnel right here. See that there? That door right there, this was the end of the tunnel. Obviously it was different in those days, but that's the end of the tunnel. Okay. Hurry, now as I mentioned we were at the end of the tunnel, now we're heading back, but what we have to do is we have to blow up the candles, so look at this. There's some more here. There's this one. And then this one. And what happens is these candles are here to do the tour, but the tour is over, so we don't need them. Talk soon. However, here we are at the beginning of Crypta Santa Restituta. Now, Santa Restituta was brought here from Tunisia. Her bones were brought here from Tunisia and were actually buried right here. See this area right here? Okay, now a little tour right here. Actually, look up top here. See what it's like up there first? See that there? Okay, now let's look over here. This part here was established in the 17th century by the Spanish and was used as a church. You can see this over here. Okay? And look up there. Look what it's like up there. You see you got the brick up there to keep it nice and sturdy. And of course, there's more limestone here. And I guess a little more these columns here to make it more sturdy. Okay. However, to continue the tour in Santa Restituta. Now, here we have a fresco here. Now, in medieval times, there were many, many of these, but as time went on, some of these were taken away. In fact, most were taken away. This is one of the very few still standing. This is John the Baptist right here, and he's doing the symbol that you people who follow me on YouTube know very, very well. This one here. This was God, Christ, and the Holy Spirit. Mine's a little different, so there you go. Hi, we're going to continue the tour. Now, this room right here was carved out of the cave in the 5th century, and it was used by the archbishops. Now, you can look at it here. This bench right here was made, you know, out of the limestone, of course, and it was carved out of this whole cave. And this, the altar right here, and this column was put here, and of course, there's this part right here, this bench as well. Now, a bit of history here. Back in the day, this was a myth. People thought that Santa Restituta was burned here, but she wasn't. But people would come here to pray here, and they would touch this for good luck. And women would actually do like this, hug this to get pregnant. Interesting. Now, also back in the time of the World War II, this sign here says that this area was used as an air raid shelter for protection against the bombs. How are we continuing the tour? Now, here we have the passageway that takes you to the well, or if you want to call it the storage room for water. Now, this part here was built after the Roman times. This part right here, this part of the town. Now, if you come over this way here, look at this. This part was done during the Punic times. This has the waterproof little surface right here. It's got the limestone underneath it, but this was a very waterproof, hard surface to protect it. Okay, this was done by the Carthaginians. Okay, and then you come down this way here. This part here was built by the Romans, and behind you there was the storage room for the water, which we're going to show you in a minute. And there you go. Alright, here we have this room here, which was the storage room for water during the Roman times. Now, if you look right here, this area here was where the rainwater came in, okay? Now, the water filled this area up to here. Like, this was sort of where it came out to here, all the way over here. Now, if you look over here, it was still carved in limestone cave. This is the limestone here, you know, the porous kind. But this was a hard waterproof surface they put on top of it. So that protected it, made it waterproof so it could store all the water. Now, if you come over here, look at this. This area here, right in there, that was the part where the water accumulated for the well, and people would use the well up top and pump up the water. Okay. Alright, continuing the tour. Now here we have the main square in Cagliari. A lot of restaurants here at night, as you can see, even though it's a Sunday night. Now, I mentioned those last two stops we saw there were used as bunkers during the Second World War, but a lot of the restaurants around here were also used as bunkers. See, this one's over here, okay? And then if you go over here, now look at this one here. Bar Gelateria. Let's go over here and have a look. This one in here, you see this here? It was used as a bunker as well, but it's also used as the entrance to a bunker. You can even see back here, got the look of the bunker there. There you go. Alright, here's the last stop. This is not a crypt, this is Santa Eulalia. Now, here's what happened. This church over here existed back in the 13th to 16th century. Now, back when they were restoring this church back in the 1990s, they discovered there was a lot of mold there. So what they did was, in order to get rid of the mold, they blew about the walls and discovered there was an underground, which was part of the underground Roman city that you're going to see. Alrighty, here we are actually just at the beginning of the Santa Eulalia archaeological area. Now we're on this little pathway here, if you want to call it that. Okay, and it sort of takes you around to see the area. Now, when they got rid of the walls, here's what they saw. The parts of the old Roman city here. You see more of the limestone there, and there's more of it over there. So you can see that there. And then look down there, there's a little more of it down there. That's what you would see back in those days. Okay. Hi folks, just further what you just saw. Now here we have the wishing well. Now the Punics, what happened was when they established the area, they used this as a wishing well. They did this for good luck. You can see all the coins in there. And when the Romans came by, they thought, hey, let's continue it. So they continued the tradition of having the wishing well. And this is what you just saw earlier. How are we continuing the tour now? If you look at this wall right here, this part was built in the 13th century, and this part here was towards the 16th century right here. Okay, look at there. Okay, now if you look down here, this is interesting. Here's some interesting parts right now. This was a little more of the porch right here. This was the pillars right here that held the roof up, and they were very, very sturdy. Now if you look down there, you see all those little pots down there, out of pottery if you want, and there's a little tank down there. That was where they stored water, not really well, but it was a tank. But what happened was those pots down there were actually found with coins in them. Now it was not a wishing well, but it was actually used to bury the treasures. Now, what you see right here, these stones right here, when the Spanish came, they found this here, but they didn't know exactly what caused it. Neither does anyone today know what caused it, but they know the Spanish built up that little bit right there in the background there. Okay. Alrighty, here, continue the tour. Now here, down here, we had the porch area of the city back then. Okay, you can see that over there. Down there. Okay, now look behind you there. You can see here's some mosaics. These are some artifacts of mosaics. Now, those are very similar to the ones you see at the Honore ruins if you follow me on YouTube. Now, they theorized that what happened was they asked the same company that built the Honore to build mosaics here as well. So that's what they're theorizing. Now, if you look over here, we have some Roman artifacts here and some coins. Look at those. There you go. However, to continue the tour now, here we have some remnants of the crypts azulejos from the 16th century. They were found, these were parts of them right there, and apparently you can see some of these right now in the shops, and you can even see them in bars nowadays, and this is sort of their source. However, here's an area that happened in the Punic times. Now what happened was, as I mentioned, there's been limestone all over the Cagliari area for the longest time. Now what they would do is they would carve out some little slots in there. We put pieces of wood in there, and they would water on the wood so it would get thicker and would puff up the limestone, so it would make it easier to actually excavate. Now, if you look down here, there's what's going on right now. You can see those are the little slots down there where they put the pieces of wood and they put water on them right there. Okay. However, continuing the tour. Now, one thing I'll show you. Here we have some remnants of oil lamps back in the Roman times there, okay? Now, the main part of this video is to show you the old Roman road. Now look at this one. Here's a Roman road here that was used back in Roman times. Now, I should mention that Cagliari, for the longest time, has been rich in salt. So back in those days, what the Romans did was they would cultivate the salt, and they would use this road to transport the salt to the port, and of course, export it. And they would also use this road for imports, because they were able to earn so much money from the salt. They were able to build this nice sturdy road. The blocks were all side by side, and this was one of the bigger roads in Roman times. However, I want to continue the tour now. Here we have an area which was the home of a wealthy citizen at the time. Right there are those two little tanks there were storage for water and food for animals. Okay, and you can see the rest of the house right here. Okay, there's more of it down here. And even down here as well. Okay. Hi everyone, we're showing a portion of the Roman road. Now I guess there's some over here. You can have a look over here. There's a little more here if you like. Here's part of the Roman road right there. Okay, but now here's the most important part. Look down here. Here we have a little opening here, which was the tube where water was transported from Villa Massagia all the way to Cagliari, right there. However, here we are terminating the tour. Now here's the last thing you have to see. What you see here was used as an anchor. Now each of those there, it depended on the particular group. But what happened is you would either see ropes go through there, or a pole with a hook was used and it would be thrown down to anchor the ship, so obviously it wouldn't sail away. Okay, so this is the Underground Cagliari tour. You have to do it.